Carol and Cheryl, Cheryl and Carol, Carol and Cheryl.
Hi, welcome to Conversations with Carol and Cheryl. Hey, Carol.
Hey, Cheryl.
How you doing?
Good.
Good. All right, well, we have a lot covered today. We're going to chat about how babies change moms, how younger dads, their roles have changed, the dreaded daycare decision, and how lucky new moms are today with drive-through pharmacies and home delivery companies like Amazon. I wish I had that when I was a mom.
I know, right?
That would have been great. Oh, my God. How did having a baby change you?
I had my kids in my 30s, so I was already established in my career and in my life, and I did not see this coming. I thought, pop the baby out, drop them off at daycare, and just continue on where I left off. And what happened was I fell madly in love with these little babies and did not want to leave them. And it was a weird thing because when I was with them, I was so exhausted and wanted a break. And then when I wasn't with them, when I was on my break, I just could not wait to be back with them. I missed them so much. I just had anxiety. So I was never really comfortable in my own skin. But that's how it changed me. I just did not see that coming. That unconditional love, how you could love something so much.
Well, there you go. That's why I had a hard time putting the husband first.
Yeah.
You know? I get that. I was taken by surprise, too. Like, I thought, okay, I can put them in daycare. No problem. Absolutely not. Couldn't do it. And I think that's a big surprise for moms. Better make sure you don't have to have the two incomes before you have kids, make that decision, because then you don't know how you're going to feel after kids, and you may not want to work.
That's so true. Luckily, our kids were healthy. Between the two of us, we had 4 super healthy babies, going back to the one income. So if you have some kind of special needs, my special needs came later, you're going to need that one income. But for me, the other problem with the daycare was I was in a situation where I didn't make enough money to have a full-time nanny. I made enough money to pay daycare, which made it hard not to work. I was making too much money not to work, but not enough money for a live-in helper. And I think that was the hardest part for me.
Did you ever try to find a live-in helper? Because I did that, and it was extremely hard.
No, I didn't do that.
It was very hard. I had a girl all lined up. She was wonderful. I don't know what I had asked, or she volunteered maybe. I don't know. But all I remember is seeing a letter that she had tuberculosis. But there's 2 different kinds of tuberculosis, apparently, because I had one of my daughter's friend's mom was a division manager of a fast food chain. A lot of people have tuberculosis that can be treated, I was going to say about a month's time. But it was just too much of a worry. Found out she didn't have a car, but she pretended she did. And her family was driving her, so that wasn't going to work.
Do you even think in the interview process on your nanny application, please list all cooties?
Right.
You know, ones that you're going to communicate over to me and ones that are not contagious. I wouldn't even think of that. I didn't even try to get the live-in help because I couldn't afford it.
It was a difficult process. I checked the nannies, the au pairs, and very expensive. So, yeah, it's a difficult decision. But I ended up doing daycare when my kids were older.
So you stayed at home with them in the beginning?
Well, I took 6 months off, but I had 5 months home with them. And then my sister took care of my daughter for close to a year. My husband and I talked, and we agreed that I should stay home. And I stayed home for 5 years.
Wow.
And then when I was home, I had the second one.
With your husband or the UPS man?
Yeah, with my husband. And within that 5 years, I also got divorced. So I was a stay-at-home mom for 5 years and a working mom. It does change you. You're throwing a curveball because it's like throwing something up in the air, and where it lands, nobody knows. But you think it's going to come straight down?
Right.
It's not.
You don't see it coming.
Mm-mm.
I didn't.
I didn't either.
I did not know that part of myself even existed. I just thought logic It was not logical. It was very emotional.
I guess the thing is that you make these things work. But I remember a girl I worked with, she was married, and before she had kids, she decided to go back to school, but she had to live away from her husband. She's getting some degree and I forget what. But I had said to her, I said, you may decide that once you go through all this schooling and you have your degree and you've lived away from your husband, you might decide, I'm never working again after I have my first kid. And you've done all that,
Right.
separated yourself for however many years and did all that work. But I guess she always has it to fall back on. And I do believe she did it stay home for once she had the baby.
Did she?
I think so. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
But then I think she went back to work or used it part-time, something.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's just funny. You just don't know.
You don't know, and there's no right or wrong.
Right.
You make it work for your situation, and you can change it up.
Yeah.
See how it goes. If it's not working, switch.
Well,
That's what I did. I had daycare in our building at work, and I was very concerned about terrorist attacks. What if
Right.
there's a terrorist attack while the baby's in the daycare in the building? So I moved him off-site to another daycare center in the neighborhood. He was the sweetest baby. This baby would sit in the car seat all day and not fuss. And he ended up with pneumonia twice
Oh, my God.
in 6 weeks.
Oh, my God.
So what does that tell you? The daycare provider is leaving them next to some other kid that has a cootie, and it's contagious. And he's getting it. He's an infant, 4 months old. It's not like he can crawl or anything. I was so freaked out.
Oh, my
I didn't know what to do. I was so freaked out. I was so tired. And I had a stressful job. I had deliverables. I had things to do. We had the talk. Should we stay home? How is that all going to work? And I just was really afraid to give up my career because I didn't know if I could get back in at the money that I was making.
Right.
And I felt like the money was providing opportunities for the kids that they weren't going to have. For example, college, a
Right.
college fund, a nice used car when they get their license. I mean, I'm thinking of this as an infant. It's like, what are we going to have to give up? It was such a struggle. And me personally, I wanted to keep my career for my own freedoms. What if my marriage doesn't work out? My mom's marriage didn't work out. She had no degree, no job. She had nothing except 4 kids. And she struggled. She had to go back to school. She struggled. So I didn't want to do that. But luckily, I found this grandma. She had 3 other infants. She took Timmy. He had his own room, his own crib in her basement. And it was terrific. It was such a good fit. But that was lucky. If that didn't work, I would have quit work. But it just worked out perfect. And then later, what ended up happening is 4 houses down from us, a family moved in. And the mom was a licensed certified daycare provider. So we ended up taking the kids there. And that turned out better than anything you could ever imagine. And my kids were socialized. I think she was a better person for them to be around all day. She did little art projects and curled their hair and took them on little missions. I would not do that.
That's nice.
We'd be watching Teletubbies for maybe 6 hours until Butch came home. Your turn. So for me, it worked out. But I was in a position where I was ready to quit. And then the other thing that happened during that pneumonia phase, I was talking to my boss about it. I'm like, I'm so freaked out. And she goes, why don't you go part-time? I'm like, really? Is that a thing? I can do that? Because that was not,
Fantastic.
that was really looked down upon. Job sharing and part-time, that was not a thing. I went back to my desk, looked up in the manual, what do you got to do to request that? Wrote the memo, signed it, brought it to her in an hour.
Oh my
That
God.
just seemed like the right answer.
That's fantastic.
So I was off every Monday and Friday. The only negative was they never took the work away. So I was still doing full-time work in 3 days, which was super stressful. When the kids got sick, I couldn't take off because then I'm only working 2 days that week. How
Oh
am I going to get this
God.
work done?
Everything has its drawback, doesn't it?
Yeah. But that's where Butch, he came in. And I'm like, if they're up in the middle of the night, please, can you get up with them? If they're sick, can you take off? So that I can go in my 3 days
Right.
and get my work done. Otherwise, it's not going to work.
Did that work out?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And that plays into the roles of the dad. They have really changed.
It's funny, in the morning on my way into work, when I go into the office, I see these men, kids, toddlers on the back of bikes, guys coming in strollers carrying the diaper bag across their shoulder. It's just so funny. They just seem to be, the wife is obviously headed off to work herself.
Yeah.
So it appears,
Off to yoga.
Yeah, right. Actually, that's probably the only way a guy would take care of the kid, right? If they knew they were getting limber enough to stretch.
Yeah.
But it's amazing. And there's one guy I work with. He didn't want to be a father. He said he was too selfish. And I thought that was pretty good that he could admit it and identified it. And I was like, well, that's great. Well, he ended up changing his tune, and he had kids. And he is unbelievable. He does 50% of the work. He takes a night, and then his wife takes a night. Mm-hmm. I think it goes from like that morning, they get the kid ready for school, all the way into bed, pack the lunch for the next day, and then boom, the next one picks up, and they split it. And he is so engaged with his kids and gets so much out of them. They're going to get so much out of it for him being so involved. It's really nice. My niece, her husband, very involved. Very nice to see it changing.
I think our generation was in that transition between the roles because here we are working moms. There's no way a working mom can do the traditional mom duties of the 1950s woman. And I went through this with Butch. We both did the same commute. We made the same money. We worked for the same organization. I'm upstairs boiling nipples. He's downstairs watching Seinfeld. I'm exhausted.
Right.
Yes, he did get up early, take the kids to daycare, but I was up earlier on the express lanes trying to get to work by 6 to get off the bus lanes by 6 a.m. I'm exhausted. So I asked him, I'm like, can you come up and help me just get the diaper bag ready? Just pack the bottles, get the diapers ready, the little onesies. He's like, are you crazy? I've been working all day.
Oh, my God.
And that's, our favorite story, where I said to him, you can either give me half your money and do this half the time, or you can just come up and help me. You pick.
Right.
Either way, you're helping me half the time. You decide on the terms,
God. I think the way you put it to me, which was classic, I can either get half your paycheck and every other weekend to myself, or you can help me out. Classic. If everyone said that, there'd be less divorces.
Yeah. For some reason, that hit a nerve with him, and he came upstairs.
I think it would hit a nerve with most husbands. I mean, it's true.
Yeah.
That's what happened to me. I got good chunk of his paycheck.
Well, there
every
you go.
other weekend to myself.
Yeah.
It was fantastic.
It's a win-win, right?
Right. Oh, my God. That's so classic.
Well, you talk about the 50%, and with us, I was really stressed out because it seemed like I was doing more. Maybe I was doing 50% and he was doing 50%. But trying to do that and work, it was just too much for me. And I think I do what every woman does. I just threaten with divorce. I'm like, I cannot do this anymore. Something has to change. And he went and talked to a priest. And the priest said to him, this is where I think those Catholic pre-marriage rituals maybe helped me in my marriage. The priest said to him, you took a vow for the rest of your life and you think you're doing 50%, you need to do 100%. This is what you signed up for. And whatever the guy said, it worked.
That's fantastic.
It did. It was a game changer. So he came back. It's not like he became my bitch boy. We sat down and divided the duties. And it wasn't along the lines of, these are the man chores, these are the woman chores. It's like, okay, these are the tasks that have to get done. Who's going to do what? What makes sense?
That's great. Well, you're lucky that priest stepped in when he did, huh?
I think it helped us, but whatever works. You have to sit down. You don't see any of this coming. You have a baby. Nobody told me this baby has to eat 3 times a day. This baby is going to have poopy diapers. A lot of poopy diapers. And these diapers are expensive. And you've got to go to Costco. Costco runs. You go in for a box of diapers and you come out with $200 worth of crap you didn't need. You think you know what you're getting into, but
yeah, you don't. As you know, I got divorced. We were separated when I was pregnant. So I had to do a lot of stuff by myself. And talking about finding daycare and working, it was great being home those 5 years. Mm-hmm. Oh, I enjoyed it. But it changed my whole outlook on things, you know. When I had kids, everything changed for me. And I found out how obstinate I was. You find out what you're truly made of. Because when people tell you to do stuff, no, you know, you don't say it like that. But I realized I'm a pretty obstinate person. Definitely makes you change. But when I was home that 5 years, I was ready to go back. Well, just like what you said, you need the money for things, especially if you're doing it yourself. And I wanted to be a good role model for my daughter, too. You know, I didn't want to have to be like, oh, I'm sorry, we can't. I don't have the money. No, we can't go here. I don't have the money. So I went back. I was lucky enough to go back and start work with people that I used to work with. So I was very blessed that way. I remember, you know, having to do things by myself, like I said. And one of them was, one of the kids had a fever. And I had to go out late at night and pack the other one up, get her all dressed and bundled, and take the other one out with the high fever. I was afraid they were going to get a chill and go to CVS and get some Motrin. And, you know, then they come out with the drive-through pharmacies. What a blessing. You know, I think you can even have them, like, get you milk in there. Wow. I've gone a couple times, you know. And the Amazon deliveries, how much easier it is for moms, you know, to have, single moms, to have that.
Mom invented, I'm sure.
Yeah. You know, well, I thought about when I was, you know, doing that, just having like mom stores. Just, you know how they have the drive-up beer stores, brew-throughs?
Yeah.
You know, have mom stores where you just drive up, you get your formula, your nipples, your whatever you need, all mom.
Binkies.
Yeah, and now there's more single moms, I think, now than any time. And you don't think about that. You have to pack up the whole damn family to get something, but not anymore. So that's real nice. Well, I guess you still have to take them out to the car, but, you know, things are much easier. You can order and have that stuff the next day. Some stuff you can have in 2 hours.
I remember going to Safeway by myself. I thought I died and went to heaven.
I stayed home with the kids, and then my sister watched them. And then I was going to go back to work. It was 2 weeks before 9/11. But I remember saying a prayer, God, please, if I shouldn't go back, because I really felt I should be home, but, you know, I just told you why.
Well, you're torn.
Send me a sign if I shouldn't do it. And so, long story short, I went over to my friend's house to oversee some teenagers babysitting the kids. And I walked in, and I had my kids with me, and my little guy was just under 2. And I walked through the house, and the first thing I did was I checked to make sure there was no safety hazards to every room. And as I'm checking the room, I didn't see a coat hanger anywhere. I turn around, and my son is screaming, and he's holding the coat hanger, and the part where you hang up over the rod, thank God it was a double one, you know, curved around.
Yeah.
It was under his eyelid, the kid on the other end. And he's screaming, and I turned around, and I started screaming, and I yelled for the one girl to call 911. She was like 14. And He didn't have a thing wrong with his eye, thank God. I could not believe it. And I don't know how it got up underneath his eyelid without touching anything.
So did you think I'm the worst mom ever for letting my kids play with hangers? I better go back to work.
No, yeah, right. I said, I can't handle this. I got to go to work.
Yeah.
Someone else has got to watch this stuff. So then I go back to work, and not even 2 weeks later, 9/11 hits. And I thought, I know I'm not that important, Lord.
You had my attention.
Yeah. But that was hard after 9/11
Right.
because we kept hearing rumors. Oh,
Right.
so-and-so's wife works at this place, and they said that there's going to be a threat, and da-da-da. That was very stressful.
For our listeners, we both work in Washington, D.C., and we were blocks away from the drama. That's a whole nother episode, 9/11.
You know, and when the kids were little, I didn't tell them about it because I just thought I don't need to create the anxiety in them. So years later, my son was probably 5th, 6th grade, and he was over at his friend's house, and the friend was talking about the airplanes going into the 9/11 building, and my son says, yeah, well, that didn't happen in real life. He goes, yes, it did. My son came home, and he said to me, did the planes actually hit a building in New York? And I'm like, yes.
And you wonder why our kids have anxiety.
No kidding. That and the commercials that show everything covered in germs. It's horrible. So, well, we covered a lot today, huh?
We did. This was a great conversation. So I want to invite our listeners to comment on our Facebook page, Conversations with Carol and Cheryl, our Instagram, and let us know how having a baby changed you.
How'd you manage going back to work?
How did you make the decision? Daycare, no daycare?
It was the hardest part. The good thing is, you'll get past this. When you're standing there and your little one's crying in daycare for you and doesn't want you to leave, and you have been at work 20 minutes ago, you will get through it. Just remember that.
And they throw up right down your back. Right. And you have an executive meeting that day.
Hey, a little puke never hurt any.
Would that be your biggest takeaway? That things change?
Yes.
Things don't stay the same, and
yes.
this too shall pass.
The expression is, life happens while you're making plans. Make the plans as best as you can, but don't count on them sticking. And in your hardest moment, it will pass. Mm-hmm. You'll make it. Before you know it, they're driving.
So, want to thank everybody. Thank you for today. This was really great.
Yeah, thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye, Cheryl.
Bye, Carol. Till next time.
Bye-bye. Carol and Cheryl, thank you. Carol and Cheryl, thank you.